I've never met her, but I've been around her presence, and I think she's just a fascinating,
she is
high energy woman.
Oh, she is incredible. She really is. She's absolutely energetic and enthusiastic about everything.
That's good.
It is good. It helps keep me in line because I tend to get grumpy. Okay.
Okay.
Today is December 6, 2014. I'm Susan West, and I'm in Ocracoke talking with Theresa Ray. Tree, can you tell me what year you were born?
I was born in 1978.
Okay. And where were you born?
I was born actually in Jacksonville, North Carolina, but I grew up in Winterville, North Carolina, which is right outside of Greenville.
Okay.
And I lived there until 1996, where my parents divorced. My father moved here and remarried, and so I followed him. I just followed him right over.
Okay. Did you go to school then in Winterville?
Winterville, Greenville area.
And graduate from high school there?
Yes, at J.H. Rose High School.
Okay. So you came to Ocracoke in 1996?
Yes.
Does your dad still live here?
Yes, he does. He and his wife, my stepmother, they own the Secret Garden Gallery. And my brother and his wife, Kevin Hardy and Laura, and my nephews, Noah and Castor, they live right next door to them.
Oh, okay.
So it's nice.
And what, is your father an artist? Or?
He is an artist, Bob Ray. He's been in several papers around here and publications and whatnot. Just had an opening. He and Barbara had an opening down at the Emerge Gallery in Greenville just recently, and they just went over to
and Barbara's your stepmom?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What kind of artwork does your dad do?
Oh, let's see, very abstract. He does a lot of collage work. He does a lot with where he wraps objects in like masking tape, and then paints them or draws on them, and then he posts them on the wall in different patterns. Barbara does a lot of paintings. Dad does a lot of paintings. Very abstract.
Okay.
Wild.
Yeah.
Good for the imagination painting.
Okay. I had a grandmother who was an artist, and she did a lot of collages at one stage, and then she did a lot of what she called assemblages with basically old junk that she like hammered or glued on boards and painted and all.
Getting into it.
Yeah, probably similar to your dad's work.
Probably. It sounds like it.
Yeah. I always had a good time with, like when I was little, with my friends visiting, and we'd go in my grandmother's studio, and they'd be like, what is this?
You can't go wrong here. It's all art. It's non-judgmental.
Yeah. So you moved to Ocracoke following your dad?
Yes.
Essentially.
Yes.
Okay.
And I was on and off here for about 3 years. I would spend mainly the summers, and then I'd kind of go back and hang out and try to go to college. And I went to college for 7 years.
Did you have a major?
I had many majors.
Okay.
I just never found one that I really cared much about.
Okay.
But I do have 2 two-year degrees.
Okay.
But I was, one is just in basic pre-liberal arts, and the other is I was actually a massage therapist before I converted over to commercial fishing.
Okay, that's interesting. Quite a change there.
Well, it was by default. I was married at the time, and we went from living in the Allegheny Forest. We used to cruise timber for the Forest Service. And
what does that mean?
The cruise timber is where you just walk through different parts of a forest. We were in the Allegheny, which is northwestern Pennsylvania, about 2.5 hours north of Pittsburgh. In that area, and we just have different compartments that we would go through, and within the compartments you would do a study of the species of trees in certain areas, and then like the understory, which is like any of the undergrowth, like ferns or moss or any type of shrubbery. And you check out the trees, make sure to see if there's any diseases, what kind of inhabitants are living in them, whether it's bugs, birds, different species around there. It was really cool.
Right.
It was really cool. And so then we did that for about a year, And
you
then,
and your ex-husband?
yes.
Okay.
And then he got a job. He was also a wetlands biologist, and he got a job in Wilmington, North Carolina. And so, of course, I'm going to follow him. And then we get down there, and it's like, oh, we're forced to pay rent and live in a shelter, and you accumulate so many bills when you live outside of a tent.
Yeah.
But, and so it's like, I had this idea that my parents always said, as long as you go to school, we'll help support you. I didn't realize there was an age limit there. And so I was like, oh, well, you know, I'll go to massage school, yay! And, you know, so it was cool, it was fine. I just,
and that was in Wilmington?
yes, that was in Wilmington. And then I moved, I was here, after I graduated from there, I moved back here. And all along got
without
back and
your
forth.
husband?
He came, he was still ending a job there. And then he came over several months later. And he started working at the ferry, but it just wasn't his gig. And, you know, things change.
Right.
People change. And, you know, it was just, he would rather be over there on the mainland. That's where he was from, and he has property over there, farmland, and he has family. You know, I was just like, you know, live and learn.
Okay.
You know, you take good experiences from people and leach
so
out the positive.
when you moved to Ocracoke, did you start fishing right away?
No, I was still doing massage, and I was working with some women here in a retail store, Mermaid's Folly, and my ex-husband and he got kind of tired of working on the ferry, and so he got a job here at the fish house, and he was just cleaning fish, and he would drive the truck and help out, you know, do whatever needed to be done. And then, you know, once he figured he wasn't willing to be here anymore, and I wasn't willing to follow him anymore, my captain, Hardy Plyler, which was Byron's captain, you know, Byron left, and he was left without, you know, some help, and I was left with, you know, just being tired of working in a retail shop. And, you know, I was, you know, I've always liked physical labor. I've always been a tomboy. I like hanging outside and getting my hands dirty, looking at animals. And so I was like, hey, man, you know, if you don't mind hiring a woman, don't treat me like a woman. Treat me like anybody else you'd have work for you. And, you know, he was willing to give me a test run, and it worked out well.
You had never done any commercial fishing?
No commercial fishing. Now I've hunted, you know, for a good portion. You know, so I've always been, you know.
Okay. You know, well, tell me, how did that work out with Hardy at the beginning? Or was it overwhelming?
It was.
Oh, and you're pound netting, right?
Oh, we pound net, gill net.
Okay,
yes.
both.
We started out, it was, Hardy was working with another fisherman, Jesse Spencer, and that was their pound net crew. They had several nets, a stand of nets together, and I was just on the side to help with restaurant, cleaning fish for some of the restaurants here.
Okay.
We cater to about 4 of them. Okay. And so I was pretty much brought on to hang net, clean fish, and manage the, you know, the books for the fish that we sell to the restaurants, and help him fish while he was off doing pound netting.
Now, when you say that, you're working for Hardy, or you're working for the fish house?
For Hardy.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
This is all, you know, Hardy took me on. I never, you know, I do come here and work whenever they need me. You know, we have, you know, great staff here, and so, you know, I try not to be in the way. If I'm not needed, I'm not going to stick around.
Okay.
You know, I'm sure there's something else I can do elsewhere. You know.
Okay.
So, so no, that was just all for Hardy, and then he started introducing me. You know, he'd be like, "Okay, we're going to go out and start pound netting, and you can, you know, do something, just make yourself useful." And I just really enjoyed it. And
so it was the 3 of you?
Yes, it was the 3 of us. It was mainly Hardy and Jesse, but I was just there to kind of learn the ropes and
as
get
an
a feel
apprentice,
of it. Yes,
sort of.
Yes, very much. And then, you know, they split, so, you know, Jesse wanted, you know, more nets, and Hardy, you know, he's an older dude, you know, and it was getting harder for him. And now we just have 1 pound net, but, you know, it was just... you know, everything would just come together, and I would, you know, I'm a fairly quick learner, and I keep my eyes open and my mouth shut. I do what I'm told, and that's, you know, you can go a long way by keeping your mouth shut. It's taken me years to learn that, but you can do that. And so it worked out, you know. And there's, you know, anytime you work with one person all the time, you butt heads a little bit.
Sure.
You know.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it's fine.
Yeah. And on the boat,
we express ourselves in, you know, ways like, oh, but, you know.
when you're on the boat together too, you can't really stump off
No,
somewhere.
no,
You
so
know,
you
you're
just
in
gotta-
close quarters.
You just
no matter
gotta
what.
bear down, and if you can't take the heat, get the hell out of the kitchen, you know?
So you and Hardy have 1 pound net. Is that a flounder pound or summer pound?
Well, that's this year. We did have, prior to this year, we had 2 summer pounds, which then we would also carry into the fall for flounder pounds.
Okay.
And we've been trying different techniques. We tried hauling a little bit, long hauling a little bit, and that just didn't seem to pan out as well as we had both hoped. So we kind of took that gear and that time and focused just more on gill netting. And we did keep 1 pound net, out for the fall because, you know, that time of year when the gill net fish slows down and the restaurants slow down, you know, you have that month of November, you know,
Right.
September, October, November, you know, to, you know, potentially make a fair amount of money.
Okay.
So-
So the pound net you have now is mostly for flounder?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a deep water flounder pound.
Okay.
Now,
What-
I'm trying to convince him next year to let's go ahead and start, you know, mending another one, but we'll see how that goes.
In deep water.
I think the water's about 15 feet.
Okay.
So whereas I think, like, you know, a shallow flounder pound is, you know, relatively shallow, like probably like
And
5 feet,
where,
6 feet.
Where is it set? Do you have to
It
go
is-
far?
Well, we keep our boats down, you know, down below, which is Ocracoke. You pass it, obviously.
Caulk?
Ocracoke. I
Okay.
think it's spelled Q-U-A.
Oh, okay.
CK,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
And there's a road out there that we go down, and we keep our boats out there.
Oh, okay.
And, so we fish more at the northern, between the pony pens and the north end of the island is where we
Okay.
fish.
And is it far away in the sound? Do you have to?
No, it's about, I'd say it's probably about 1.5 2 miles out,
Okay.
I guess. You know.
So not a bad run.
No,
to
not
it.
at all. We run zip right to it. And
so you bring your fish in there,
yeah,
unload it onto a truck.
yeah, Hardy keep, you know, his truck, you know, we have totes. And if we have a good catch, sometimes it's just easy to run with the boat straight here.
Okay.
You know, but most
Okay.
of the time, you know, we just stack them in totes in the back of the truck and come on back in.
Okay. And so tell me about gill netting.
Well,
What are your target species?
bluefish mainly. We
Bluefish.
target a lot of bluefish. And it's an inexpensive fish. When it's fresh, it tastes wonderful, and that's what our restaurants want. You know, they
Okay.
want, they want something that's going to run out of there. They don't want to hold on. Of course, you don't want to hold on to fish for
Right.
several days. So that's basically what we target is bluefish
Okay.
in the summertime, and you know, trout, bluefish, Spanish mackerel at the beginning of the
Okay.
summer.
And does all that fish go to local restaurants
Yes,
here?
most of it does.
Most of it
Yes,
does?
we cater to Howard's Pub, Back Porch, some to the Pony Island, Eduardo's,
Okay.
best Mexican food on the island.
It is.
The only Mexican food on the island, really. But and then but you know, so that's what they want, and they like the mackerel. They like to have variety,
Okay.
you know, and so we.
And if you have too much, they don't.
Well, we give them a certain amount per day. Like we don't, you know, bombard them with hundreds of pounds
Okay,
of fish. You
I
know,
see.
you know, like they may use more fish than we
Okay.
give them, but we never
Okay.
just dump it on them. We mark it out that morning. You know, I'm constantly texting. You know, I've never been a big fan of cell phones, but it's easier to communicate with restaurants. Be like, hey, what do you want this today? Like, oh, just bring me
Okay.
50, 60 pounds. And then what we don't sell to our restaurants, we sell here to the fish house
Okay.
wholesale.
Okay.
as of all the other fishermen. If they, there are other fishermen that have several other restaurants, but everything basically is sold here wholesale.
Okay. And the fish, some of the fish that's sold here goes in the market?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And does the rest of it still go with Wanchi's Fish Company?
Yes, Wanchi's Fish Company.
I knew a couple years ago they did that, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah, it's still Wanchi's, yeah.
Okay. So do you have a favorite type of fishing?
I like pound netting. I'm a big fan of the pound netting. It's a lot.
How come?
I think just it's not any easier. I think it's easier in the fact that you can just, run right out there. At this point in time, I know what I'm doing. We just get in there, boop, 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 do what we have to do. But I just like seeing everything right in there. It's really cool,
And you call out those fish.
Yeah, anything that we don't want.
With a dip net.
Yep, we have the dip net. We just scoop it out and throw it overboard and watch it swim away.
Okay.
So,
what would you say would be, for you, the hardest part of fishing? Either mentally or physically or both?
Well, definitely both. Physically, I'm fairly strong. I'm not the strongest I could possibly be, but I don't like to work out. So, I like the physical labor for the fishing that keeps me in shape. But there's a lot of, there are some physical things that I cannot do. And this is coming on to my 7th season. And I can definitely tell wear and tear on the body, as opposed to if I were, folding T-shirts or not doing a physical laboring job. But mentally, it's hard to give up your free time. Especially I'm a younger. I'm 36 or 37 or something of those. But I still enjoy hanging out with my girlfriends and nightlife. But it's hard because you can't do that.
Because there's always
work to be done in the summertime. I get up at 3:30 in the morning, and I don't go to bed till dark. Those are long days, and first off, I don't feel like going out, but it's just knowing that I have to be up in 6 or 7 hours, and be mentally prepared and physically capable to take on whatever may happen. It's it gets tough, about midsummer when I really need a break and I really want to go out and drink more than one beer. It's hard. And, of course you always, no matter what you do in life, somebody is going to run their mouth about you and talk crap about you. And so it's just, everything people just assume, that gets to me a little bit, but, I've been made fun of my whole life for being a tomboy. I don't care anymore what you think. And it's just, but, other than that, it's just, I enjoy it. I love what I do. I just take every day.
Are you okay with being called a commercial fisherman? Has anybody ever called you a fisher? Do you call it?
Fisher? No, I've never been called a fisher.
If you were filling out an application for a loan or another job, what would you put as your?
I would just put fisherman, commercial fisherman.
Okay.
That's just the men. We're all man. We're all human beings, but sexually, yes. I'm a woman, but I'm not trying to be the Shannon Faulkner of fishing. I'm just doing it because I dig it. I love living on this island. It's the most beautiful place, and it's kind of like I've always felt I could do more than just what everybody does.
Right.
So not that I feel like I'm any better of a person. I'm not any better than any other woman that would rather just
the run-of-the-mill type jobs.
Yeah.
You wanted something different.
Yeah, I wanted something challenging. Mentally, physically, something to challenge. It takes a lot of gumption to get up every day to go out there on the water. When the weather's, just horrific. It's just,
Are there other women here on Ocracoke who fish?
No. There
No.
is a woman, Arlene Burley. She clams. She's a clammer.
Okay.
I wouldn't consider her a fisherman though.
Uh-huh.
But so she works on the water definitely. But other than myself, I think Ellen Gaskell does a little bit with her husband, James Berry, but I'm pretty much it.
Is that a challenge, or do you feel like
No.
a minority or anything?
Well, yeah, I think it's definitely a minority, but I think, you know, maybe it can intrigue some young girl. You know, when the school kids come in here, you know, I do pull, you know, young girls aside and say, hey, you can do this. Don't let any man or woman tell you that you cannot.
That's
you
great.
know, because
Yeah,
that just
that's great.
that bothers me
Uh-huh.
when people tell somebody what they can and cannot do. You know, but I hope I inspire younger women or older women or whomever, you know, to get out and just do what you want to do, you know.
How about your relationship with the other fishermen? With Hardy, but then also with the
think, you
other
know,
guys.
I think now they're used to me.
Uh-huh.
You know, they...
How was it at first? Do you think they were like, oh, this is going to be fun?
Oh, yeah, they're like, oh, look at this chick over here, this hippie chick. You know, look, she's got earrings in and bracelets on. You know, but like anything, you know, you get used to people and you learn about people, and instead of running your mouth about someone, why don't you get to know me and follow me and see what I do and see what I can do.
Okay.
You know, I'm not just a pretty face.
So probably after a spell.
Oh yeah, I'd say after about 3 years.
About 3
4
years. They got used to you.
Yeah. And you know, it was intimidating. I mean, being around a bunch of, you know, hardworking men, it can be intimidating. You know, and just you try not to get shoved to the side. You know, and that's what I would not, you know, get in the way of other people when they're packing out their fish. You know, but I will, I'll grab a shovel and run up on that ice pile before anybody else would. You know, and to prove a point, but just be like, hey,
right,
I'm useful. I'm a useful person. You know, like, I can help you out. And, you know, now we all just, you know, it's fine.
Yeah, fish houses tend to be male places.
Yes.
I interviewed an older woman who fished in the 1970s. She pound-netted with her husband.
Nice.
She told me when they would come into the fish house, she'd never leave the boat. She didn't want to go near the docks or the fish house because it was all men, and she said it was intimidating to her.
It can be intimidating, and fortunately or unfortunately, I can tend to have a very quick-witted, smart mouth. And so, you know, I can dish it and I can take it. So, I mean, you can, you know, I'll talk back, you know, and I give respect to those that deserve respect. But, you know, just joking around with the guys, I don't mind that. I grew up with brothers, you know, so I don't mind at all. I can take it. And, you know, but once you've seen, I think I would always make a point to, you know, even if I was done packing out our fish, you know, the next group of guys that come through, I'm always like, hey man, what can I do to help you out? Like, I'll just be like, hey, I'll be glad to help you out. And, you know, they see that I'm here helping them.
Right.
And I don't get paid for it. You know, I'm just like, you know, you have a boatload full of mullets. Let me jump down in there and help you pick them out. You know, and I just do it. And I don't talk a lot, you know, I just, you know, if they say something to me, I'll respond back, or I'll make a little, like, hey, friendly gesture, or, you know, comments, but I don't try to get them all in there.
So it could be a little easier for the next woman.
I think it could be, you know, but then again, it depends on that woman.
Right.
You know, if you're just going to kind of be sheepish in the corner, you're not going to get, you know, you're going to get, you know, why don't you go over there, you know. And I'm not one, and even now, like, you know, my boss does it, and I think he does it mainly out of, he doesn't want me to hurt myself. But, you know, lifting totes and things like that, he's always like, you know, don't lift that, get out of the way. And I don't really particularly like to be pushed away from a job. Even if I don't think, even if they think I can't do it, like, you know, let me try, or let me, like, don't just push me to the side. That irritates me.
That's,
because
they're assuming you can't.
Yes.
Maybe you can.
Oh yeah, I can. And it reciprocates when a younger boy or man, he was in here helping work, and he was scrawny. So I pushed him to the side. I was like, I got this. Sometimes you just got to do it. But
can you think of anything that would have made it easier for you when you first got into fishing?
Other than weightlifting, I think no, because everything was so new to me. Okay. I didn't even know how to start a boat. I didn't know how to do any of that. The first 2 years it was kind of, don't ask what you're being told to do. You just figure out how to do it right as quickly as possible and try to get it done right the first time.
Okay.
And then by the 3rd, 4th year, he would, go through and, I'd try not to ask too many questions, because that gets annoying after a while. But he would be like, this is why you do this. These are the reasons for this. And you kind of start to put it all together by the 4th year.
Okay.
So it's just, there's nothing I think that could have really helped me.
Okay.
I was just myself. I had grown up with boys, and, I was tough enough, and, I had, I'm educated, so I have critical thinking skills, which, helps in different situations. But, no, just, here I am. Here I go.
So you haven't fished any other place?
No.
Okay.
Cane pole in Missouri somewhere. That's about all the fishing I ever did.
And your other jobs here have been massage therapists and retail?
Retail.
Okay.
I guess in '96 I worked for the women that owned, at the time, Island Rag Picker.
Okay.
And I just worked in the stock room.
Uh-huh.
Whoop-de-doo kind of stuff.
Okay.
And then they bought another shop, and I kind of followed them over there, and, realized I wasn't meant for massage, and just worked full-time there. And then once everything's, separated between my husband and myself.
Why weren't you meant for massage?
Believe it or not, I'm not very much a people person. Like, certain people, like, I enjoy talking to people, but, like, the everyday public are very, tiresome, to be nice about people. People are just, what are you thinking? Like, why are you doing, and just like...
Well, maybe that's another reason why commercial fishing is attractive to you.
It is,
Because you don't have to deal with the public.
Yes, it is. I've learned to have a lot of respect for any man or woman that has done this for more than 10 years, but, it's just... I just don't like working with too many people. Maybe it's because I kind of like to be in control.
Oh, okay.
Not all the times, but I can lead a situation. When you get into the general public and something, I just you can't control the masses.
Well, in fishing, there are situations where you have to make a decision.
Yes.
Pretty fast
yes.
too. Decide what you're gonna do.
Yeah.
How about hobbies?
I love hunting. I used to ride my skateboard quite a bit, but I played soccer in high school, and I have 4 screws in one knee, and so that's kind of keep me from skateboarding. But I think I'm gonna get a pair of roller skates. But I like to be active. I like to walk in the dunes, not necessarily on the beach, but I like to go in the dunes and just walk and see what I can see. And
So, I'm sensing you're a real nature person. Have you ever lived in a city?
Greenville. That's probably about the biggest city I've ever lived in. No, city life doesn't really intrigue me. Too much hustle and bustle, too much caring of, oh my God, is the right shirt to wear around all these people. Like, I don't care about that. Like, even now when I go back to Greenville and I'm like, just encroaching on Greenville, you start seeing all these billboards and you automatically feel ugly because you're like, oh, I don't have blue eyes and I'm not 120 pounds and I'm not like this girly ass girl that, you know, and I just don't even go there. I mean, like, those ducks don't care what you're wearing when you shoot them. You know, that's, you know, but, yeah, I like to go hiking a lot, and, well, not around here, obviously, but, you know, I've always enjoyed hiking, and in my mind, I'm planning a trip. It'll probably be a couple years from now, maybe 2 or 3 years, and plan to hike the Appalachian Trail from start to finish.
Wow.
So
that would be fantastic.
Yeah,
experience.
I'm pretty excited about it, but it takes a while. You know, my pup Layla, I don't really want to leave her. She's older, she's 9. You know, I would kind of rather her, you know, move on to wherever, you know.
Right.
Yeah, I don't want to just leave her for 6 months. You know, she's old. I don't want to do that to her.
Yeah, 6 months is a long time.
Yeah, and let's just go ahead and tack on another month just for whatever's, you know. But, so, you know, I like to do hiking and, yeah, anything outdoors, really.
Okay. Yeah. What's your prediction about the future of commercial fishing on Ocracoke?
And that's a tough question. Just for, you know, it's going to depend a lot on everybody working together, I think. This fish house right here is, you know, my future, and all the fishermen here, this fish house right here is their future. And it can be difficult, you know, getting everyone to work together and see that, you know, look into the future. Don't look at what's happening right now. You know, don't, you know, let's, I think,
look long range.
Yeah, let's look long term here.
Uh-huh.
You know, you can't just, you know, run off and sell, you know, fish to somebody else for a nickel more right now. You know, and that kind of thing. But I think if the fishermen stick together, or come together before they stick together, you know, there's some newer, younger guys getting involved. You know, it just all depends on, you know, regulations. You know, I think the fish are here. I mean, we have, you know, 2 major inlets on either side of us. I mean, we can't help but succeed at fishing. But, you know, it's hard work. And a young man or woman that just jumps in it without the monetary means to get started, I mean, I'm very grateful and thankful that I'm nothing but a first mate. You know, like, my captain, he, you know, we work on gear all the time. But it depends on the regulations. It depends on what we're able and willing to fight for. Is, you know, depends on how long fishing will really last. You know, there's money to be made. Whether or not people want to continue to do it,
is that
10 years down the road?
You know, I mean, nothing is really secure in life. But that insecurity, does that bother you?
I mean, it does in a way that, you know, I chose to leave a life behind to do this, you know, and I didn't know I would truly enjoy it as much as I did. You know, at the time when I took this job, it was just something that I can do that I would probably enjoy doing. That not every woman can say they've done, or any person can say they've done. I mean, I see, you know, beautiful sunrise and sunsets that most people don't even care to look at, you know, but it does worry me a little bit, you know, with not getting too into different groups that want to keep us down. You know, I mean, you know, I know I have to keep on trucking, but at the age of 36, I can't just pick up right now and go off and try something else. I guess I could. So,
do you think you'll always be a fisherman?
I think so. I think been doing it too long now that
No turning back.
my temperament now and, you know, dealing with, you know, people. I could not go and work in a retail shop at this point. No, I could not do that because I tend to have a fairly, you know, have a little bit of a sailor's mouth.
Okay.
You know, I can just, you know, try to keep that at bay. But, you know, it does worry me some, but I hope that we can just continue on and fight for our right to do this, to be here and fish.
It sounds like y'all really have the demand for the fish here locally.
Oh, we do.
The
we do have the demand. The
want it.
restaurants, wholesale. I mean, but, you know.
And the retail market.
Oh, the retail market here. The woman who runs the retail market, Patty, I mean, I think she's been here at least 8 years working. That's Hardy's wife.
Right.
And, you know, she does a great job in there. You know, she sells that fish. You know, all we have to do is bring it in. She can sell it. And she's an important person to educate people.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because
she is.
she has a very vital role in this fish house. And, but, you know, like I said, if the fishermen keep fishing, don't worry about gas price. Don't worry about the price of fish. Just put it on the dock and keep rolling. You know, don't stop. You know, they always hear that when the weather gets bad, you work on your gear. So when the weather's right and the fish are here, you're not lollygagging, sucking hind tip because you were drunk all winter long. Or, you know, like, you have to stay on it. And I've seen that, you know, and it's just...
So it takes discipline.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it does.
I think that would surprise some people who would think, fishing. You hop in the boat and go.
You go and the fish just magically appear. You know, they don't see the hours, the days where we have nothing in our nets. And so, I mean, you have to work twice as hard because the fish aren't really here. So you're constantly scavenging around to try where they are. I mean, this is something that apparently takes a lifetime to learn. You can't just know that the fish are going to be right there all the time, because they're not.
Besides discipline, and you've touched on some of these but what are the characteristics that you think are important for a good fisherman to have? Discipline,
gumption, you know, you have to have knowledge of the water, how to maneuver your boat in different weather conditions. I don't know. I mean, hardworking, I guess that's the same as discipline. Well, not really the same as discipline. You have to be very hardworking.
Do you and Hardy fish in the winter then?
No, we pretty much stopped.
Have you stopped now?
Yes, we've stopped now. Okay. We pulled our nets up. After December 1st, you're not allowed to sell a flounder, land a flounder in North Carolina. So, you know, we're pretty much only pound netting from pretty much the 1st of November through the 1st of December.
Okay.
Because our restaurants are closed, and therefore, when they don't need fish, there's no point in going out just for a handful of fish.
So wintertime is trying to enjoy nature and working on gear.
Yes, definitely. Hanging net.
And when do you set net?
Depending on, you know, our monetary status, we may go out there and fish for hickory shad or jacks, I guess, like in February.
Okay.
But he's a big duck hunter, and I like to duck hunt myself, and so this time of year we just get duck hunting stuff rigged up, and he takes his friends and stuff, and I just go whenever he doesn't have someone else going, or, you know, whatnot. And but yeah, this time of year is just hanging out, hang net. You know, we'll probably at the end of duck season or end of January, 1st of February, if we choose to, you know, build another pound net, that's when we'll start sewing net, you know, the pound net, whatever. But
and then in the spring, when do you traditionally start setting net again?
Definitely by the end of February, 1st of March. And we may not catch a whole hell of a lot, but, you know, you gotta test it and see what's out there. You can't sit and wait for somebody else to go out there and see what's there.
Right.
You know, you gotta take the initiative to do it on your own.
And do you and how do you use the same boat for pound netting and gill netting?
No, not. It depends.
Tell me about those.
The pound net boat, we have a privateer, and it's a 22-foot privateer, and you know it's lower washboards on the sides. It just has like a little console in the back, so you know we can, you know, put all the totes of fish,
Okay.
you know, on the deck and the bow and whatnot. In our gill net boat, we have it's a 24-foot Seahawk with a net reel and a console.
Okay.
And that net reel is a wonderful thing when it gets rough or you just have so many fish, because we'll usually set anywhere from no less than 800 yards, you know, so
Okay.
anywhere from 800 to, you know, 1,600 yards of net, you know, and so that net reel is useful when picking up the net. And I usually I work the bow, pick up the buoy, and then bring it over the stanchions and latch it on to the net reel.
Okay.
And then I'll run the net reel.
Okay. Are you good at picking fish?
Oh yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. After so many years, I mean, it's just, you know, yeah, it's easy.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's not easy, but I mean, it's, you know.
But you're pretty
just a
quick
thing.
at it.
Yeah, I can be quick. I mean, there's a fish where I'm just like, oh,
Uh-huh.
and I get mad and I just rip its head off, and I'm like, sorry, didn't do that. But you know, it's just a thing. You know, you learn the techniques, and it gets done.
Yeah. Do you eat a lot of seafood?
I do. I do eat a lot of seafood.
What do you like?
I like fried shrimp. Anything fried is wonderful. So that's pretty much how I like my fish is fried.
Okay.
Sea mullet. Pompano is probably my favorite fish.
Is it?
Yeah. Pompano, sheep's head, drum, flounder. You know, I can give or take flounder. I mean, it's a good fish. It tastes like anything you cook it in. You know, but
Right.
as far as the tastier fish, I love pompano. It's
Okay.
wonderful.
And do you do a lot of cooking or?
I do. You know, single woman, and I cooked for my husband. You know, so yeah, you know, I learned how to cook. My mother is a wonderful cook.
Okay.
She's always been a good cook, and she taught us early on, my brother and myself, you know, the key to having the right spices with different things. And so, you know, salt and pepper, you can't really go wrong. But, oh yeah.
Does your brother live here?
My other brother, my biological brother, Dylan, he's the head photographer for the Carteret News Times over in Beaufort.
Oh, I've seen
Morehead.
his name.
Yes, yep, that's him. And
Okay.
then, you know, but yeah, I forgot what the question was. But no, so my mom has always taught us how to cook, and so I enjoy it. You know, sometimes you really screw something up. You just hopefully the dog will eat it, and learn from it, and try something else next time. But you know, I cook like, you know, whenever I'm hunting for deer or duck or whatever. I mean, that's a challenge as far as cooking. But
Do you envision a time in the future where you might own a boat?
oh
Your
yeah,
own gear?
I do.
Is that?
That's not far-fetched at all. I mean, you know, I wish no harm to my captain. You know, as long as he's around, I'm honored to work with him. And you know, he's mentioned that, you know, as he gets older, if I'm still interested in it, you know, he has a daughter, but you know, she's a nurse, and she's, you know, I would not see her coming down here to automatically start fishing.
Right.
You know, so you know, he's kind of mentioned that, you know, if you stick with it, you know, this could be yours. And you know, and he's very insightful on certain things of, you know, really, if you want to do this for your restaurants, this is the only area you'd have to go, which is within a 2-mile, you know, area.
So he's good at sharing knowledge.
Yes.
And all.
Oh yeah.
He's a good teacher.
He's a wonderful teacher.
Is he?
I mean, he's very intelligent. He's educated, you know, and he's been doing this for 40 years. You know, I mean, he knows some things. You know, I'm not going to question his knowledge.
Right.
You know, I just absorb it. And I have a couple journals that I started Kind of my first season, but mainly my second season. Last year I wasn't too good about writing in it, but, so I have 2 journals that, I write down, okay, today we went here, this is what we set, where we set, what the wind was, the water temperature, and then if I remember what we caught and what we saw, just anything wonderful, beautiful, crazy, really shitty that may have happened, it all goes in there, and, so that's something as well as what he,
that's a great
verbally
thing to do.
Passes down, I can kind of go back, in reference to it.
Speaking of really shitty, what is like, the fishing trip from hell?
Oh.
What is the worst stuff that goes wrong?
Oh, there's several that come to mind. One, it just went to hell. I had a bet. It was when Hardy and Jesse and myself were fishing pound nets, and it was just a fishing mishap. But I just felt, whatever, you have that little inner voice.
Right.
I felt like an uneasiness about the day, and I was like, it's kind of rough out there, and I was still new to it, but I was like, I could do it. I'm just going to go and do it. And we get out there, and the whole time I'm just like, something's going to happen here. I don't feel right, but, we go, we do it. First pound net, it was fine. We get to the second pound net. Stingray comes in the boat, busts through my boot. I got a barb stuck 1.5 inches in my foot, and it broke off in my foot. And
so
that was pretty bad. But
okay, so how do you get the barb out?
I think we finished pound netting.
Priorities.
Priorities here. We didn't make it to the third net. Well, we got finished with the second one, tied up the tunnel,
and did this hurt?
Oh yeah, for that first you're just in shock and adrenaline. You're like, holy shit, I think I just got sick. Stuck by a stingray barb, and I remember just looking at Hardy, and he can look in my eyes and be like, and then all of a sudden I was like, like just intense pain, and the stingray was still in the boat, and he,
took care of
it, and realized that the barb was broken off. And you could kind of see it. It was this foot right here. It was kind of sticking just barely out of my boot. And so he was like, don't touch it. And hot water is apparently what you need for a stingray wound. And, so Jesse and Hardy are scrambling to, like, get things done and let's get back in. And they had to cut my boot off and then just fillet my foot open to get the barb out. I did not. No, the doctor or whomever at the clinic did it.
I was wondering if Hardy did that.
If he did that would be, if he needed to do it, I'm sure he would have done it for me. However, I'm thankful he did not. He's a fisherman, not a doctor.
Right.
But no, and they just had to fillet my foot open and get the barb out. And of course, it's a barb, so it goes in, and the barbs are like that. So when you pull it out, it was quite painful. And with those things get left in the foot that can cause,
infection,
abscess. And 9 months later, I had a little bit of gangrene. I had to have my foot reopened, and they had to scrape my toe joint.
Wow.
But after that, it was fine. After that, once all the bacteria was out, it was easy healing. I'm a fast healer.
I'd say that's definitely a lousy fishing
That was a lousy
trip.
day. But, as far as, like, injuries, you're always going to have, minute injuries from a fish bone to get slapped in the head with a buoy or something like that. But weather-wise, that can be different. The most we really go out in early summer.
Do you ever get frightened out there with weather?
No. It gets sketchy. When you see lightning flash before you hear it, you're like, oh shit, let's just go. Can we just go now? Let's go. Just cut the net. I'll cut it. Let's just go. But he stays pretty in tune with the weather.
That's good.
I believe he is just like a human barometer. He knows things before the people on the Weather Channel do, and so he doesn't really put us in danger. He's not. He's not totally money hungry.
Right.
He's
but
not
still,
crazy.
You
have to take risk. And you go out there. If it's blowing 35 miles an hour, we're not going to go set nets. You know, if we, you know, early summer when the water's still warm and, you know, you can set overnight for a little while still, we fish out in the bight back of Blair's, out of Blair's Channel here, rather than down there. We fish out here for mackerel.
Okay.
And it's a little bit rougher, you know, where we fish down towards the north end, we're protected by the reef.
Okay.
So here's more open.
Exposed.
Yeah, you're within the inlet, a lot more current, heavier seas, just because not a lot of reefs. And, you know, a couple of times we've gotten caught out there, you know, a northeast wind, about, you know, 15 to 25 is what you want to fish in, you know, because wind, you know, moves fish.
Right.
And it kind of cools off the water a little bit, and so fish are running. And, you know, we've been stuck out there before, you know, where you have, like, you know, 8 shots of 200 yards each, and, you know, the bow of the boat's coming up like this, the bow's dipping down underneath the waves, and you have the net reel, thankfully, and it's just cranking as hard as it can, you know, but, you know, the anchor, you know, was stuck, you know, and it was weighing down the bow, and that got kind of sketchy, because it was like, waves are breaking, the bow's going down, I'm like, cut the line, you know, and so sometimes you gotta lose gear, you know. You know, we've lost a few anchors, but, you know, anchor life, you know, no question. But, but he's pretty good about keeping us out of extreme weather, you know, lightning.
That's good.
You know, we have been out there, I guess it was maybe 2 years ago, we were mending the pound net out there, and it's blazing ass hot, and, you know, it's that summertime possible water spout, you know, storms, and we're sitting out there just, you know, mending the net or whatever, and I look up and there's 3 water spouts, you know.
Oh, geez.
One of them I can see the water coming off of it, and I'm like, I mean, it's probably a mile or, mile and a half, 2 miles away, and I'm just like, hey, boss, you know, there's a water spout or 2 over there, and he just looks up and he's like, all right, let me know when it gets closer. And I'm just like, oh, are you serious? And he's just like, just don't look at it. Just keep doing your job. He's like, you'll know if it gets closer. And I'm like, okay. You know, so in essence, I try not to be too much of a girl about it, you know. So I trust him. You know, it's like when you're on an airplane, don't worry until the flight attendants start freaking out.
Right.
When he starts freaking out, then I freak out. But if he's cool and calm, I'm like, all right, he knows what he's doing. But
what do your parents and your brothers think about you being a fisherman?
Oh, they dig it.
They do?
Yeah, I think at first, my mom, she was a bit perturbed, I think, about it. You know, because I think every mother wants their daughter to grow up and get married and have a bunch of babies and all that kind of crap. But I never wanted to do that. I never planned weddings as a child or, you know, wanted to have children. I don't really like children. I like my nephews. They're wonderful. I can hand them back.
Right.
You know, like, you know, but, you know, it took her a while.
Does she work?
My mother, yes, she's a retired nurse. She from Pitt County Memorial Hospital, Vidant or whatever it is now. And but you know, I think it was difficult for her because, you know, as far as she knew, I was just fine being married, and then all of a sudden I'm like, nope, that's gone. I'm gonna stay here and I'm gonna fish, and you're gonna have to just like it, you know, like it or lump it, you know, like. This is my life. I'm going to do however I see fit. You know, it's not like I'm selling crack somewhere. I'm working hard, you know.
How about, like, you know, your childhood friends or your high school friends? Do you think they'd be surprised to hear that you're a fisherman?
I think they would, just for the fact of, you know, I guess just living on the mainland, you know, they're just like, oh, she lives on an island and she fishes. Holy shit, that's pretty awesome, you know. But I mean, I've always been fairly not dominant, or aggressive, but you know, if I'm good at something, you know, I'm not going to lessen myself just to fit in with the people.
Right.
You know, like how I'm just kind of saying,
right.
But like, you know, I played soccer in high school and some at college, and you know, I knew I was good, and so I'm going to do the best I can every day, no matter what it is I choose to do.
Right.
You know, and so that's just how I do it. And, you know, most of my friends, they dig it. You know, they were always, you know, I was always like this outdoor nature hippie chick anyway.
Okay.
So now I think it, you know, surprises them a little bit more when they're like, oh, you're killing them. And I'm just like, you eat it too. You know, you're wearing leather Birkenstocks. Okay, that animal did once live. You know, like,
right.
Come on, people. But I don't think it's too surprising. You know?
Okay.
I think it, you know, it would probably be more surprising to them if I stayed married with children.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, it's just, you know, I'm just, you know.
Are you artistic? Do you paint or anything?
My father believes that I'm very artistic. However, he's just a dad, and he's not just a dad. He's a wonderful dad. And, you know, I am kind of artistic. Like, you know, I can draw and sketch, and, you know, I do collages. I've done, you know, in my journals, I do little sketches. And the past 2 years, I've done the Ocracoke Preservation Society. They'll pass out canvases, little free canvases, and they want you to paint or draw or whatever on this canvas that's something that depicts what you love about Ocracoke. And I would take some of those, and some of the pictures that were in my journals, and recreate them onto the canvas. And I sold them, or they sold them at auctions or whatnot. And whatever money, you know. I heard one went for like $130. So that's pretty far out.
Wow.
Like for some
great.
What I would think chicken scratch on a canvas, but you know, I can be artistic, you know. I used to make clothes. I used to, you know, super hippie. I'd make my own clothes. And
oh, really?
Yeah, just, you know, skirts and hippie tops. And, you know, I'm always putting patches on my clothes. And, you know, but, I mean, that's art. But, I mean, it's creative. And, you know, I used to make rain sticks.
What's a rain stick?
You know, those things, like I was in Greenville and I came across a big patch of, I guess, wild or maybe planted bamboo. Or, you know, and that stuff spreads like crazy. And so I just cut some down, and I found there was a store in Greenville at the time that had like office supply, and, you know, those poster tubes, just like cardboard tubes with the caps on the ends. You can take I would take nails, and you would line the nails in a certain pattern, and you can choose by the length or thickness of the nail, and then you fill that tube with dried beans, and you, just depending on the sound you want to hear, you put different beads in there, and then decorate the outside with the bamboo and hemp rope and shells and all sorts of hippie goodness. And it's a rain stick, you know. You ever heard of a rain stick?
No,
I think my dad still has one, but and you just tilt them upside down.
Music, sound.
Yeah. And they have them in, like, you know, I'm sure tribal areas. They use rain sticks for ceremonies and all that kind of stuff. And
cool.
For, like, we're part, on my father's side, we're part Native American. And so growing up, I was, you know, really intrigued by that, because I was different, because I was tan and I had brown hair, and I, you know, it seemed like every girl I went to school with was blonde hair and blue eyes, and I was just like,
do you know if that was a North Carolina group?
No, it was Blackfoot Osage. My father's from Western Missouri, and so that's where his group was out and around there. And I've tried so hard to, like, try to get documentation for, not for, you know, to publicize myself, but, you know, little benefits here and there don't hurt.
Well,
you know?
Plus it would be real interesting.
It would be cool, and I think there's, like, you know, and all the times, like, I would try, you know, when I would go out there and be like, hey, you know, Grandma, you know, can you guys help me figure this out? And they would kind of just, like, brush it, because, and then they're like, look, you know, my dad was finally like, back then it wasn't hip to have any of that in you. So, you know, it's not, you know, they never advertised it. And so a lot of that talking, I'm sure I could, if I felt like really searching for it. Or like I think they have blood tests that only Native
Americans
Americans
have. I'm wondering if a DNA test
and, you know, it's there, you know.
That's
You know,
interesting.
you look at myself and my father, and of course my brother, he's like, you know, white boy, like blonde, you know, he got my mother's features, so it's like, don't come to this meeting, Dylan, you're gonna make us look bad, you know, but, you know, I don't worry about it too much anymore, but for a while I was really into it, and I would make a lot of bracelets, like, you know, turquoise, I did a lot of beadwork,
Wow.
and then when I hunted a lot of deer on the mainland, you know, I would tan hides, and I would make,
Really?
I would, you know, bear, squirrel, rabbit, coon, fox, and obviously deer, you know, just you tan the hides, and my husband, I made him this really nice journal out of a deer that he shot with an arrow.
Wow.
And I made sure I left the arrow mark right in there, you know, so the
that's-
whole time I'm tanning it, and then like you can like burn into it like certain like
Right.
designs of whatever, and you know, so I just
That's
make kind of
fantastic.
stuff for people. I'd never sell it or anything,
Uh-huh.
but you know, just my goal was to like, you know, have him kill a bunch of animals, and of course we always ate. Like, he was a good hunter, you know. Anything he would kill, we'd use it to its fullest, you know.
Oh, that's great.
And that's why I started getting into the hides, and I was
Right.
like, I just want to make a quilt out of hides and line it with fleece and be like the warmest blanket ever.
It would be.
Yeah, but I never got to that, but it was fun.
No, that's great though, the philosophy of trying to use every part.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Oh, yeah.
so much goes to waste.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, there's bad hunters and there's good hunters. You know,
Uh-huh.
just like anything else.
That's interesting. But here it's duck hunting.
Yeah, pretty much here I'm limited to duck hunting. I don't know other than, you know, I know a few people on the mainland that I could go deer hunting if I wanted to, but I don't think my ex-husband would let me go hunting on his farm anymore. But I don't know, he might. I don't know, but I just don't even worry about it because, you know, it's not my surrounding. I usually stick with what's in my area, and so duck hunting is super fine, you know.
And what kind of ducks do you get here?
Redheads, blackheads, pintails, buffleheads, and so far I shot 4. Went 4 times, shot 4 ducks, and
And are you out in the blind?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, we're in a blind, and then later on we'll rig up a sink box, you know, where it's
Okay.
right on with the water. But you know, the whole sink box, that's totally new to me as far as the past 2 years. Because you know, when I was on the mainland, you hunt in the swamps, you know, for wood ducks or whatnot,
Right.
and it was just totally different. You know, you know they're coming in here to roost, so you know right where they're gonna fly. So you know, they just fly through, you shoot them, you go get them, that's fine. But out there on the water, when you have to mimic nature, you know, you have to, the reason for the decoys is exactly, they're decoys. You have to try to mimic what they would normally land to. And that's tough because, I mean, it changes. You know, the wind changes, so you have to change the pattern. You have to add these ducks, take these ducks away because they'll start to bother. You know, so it's all just, you know, it's not as easy as just walking out there and being like, hey, let's shoot something.
Yeah.
You know?
I've never been hunting,
Yeah,
so I don't
you should
know.
go sometime.
You know.
But
Do you have a dog to retrieve them?
no.
No.
You should go out there yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think there's some people, I don't know if around here, but like, you know, tourists that come in, I think some of them will bring dogs. But no. My dog, she doesn't chase much. She doesn't retrieve anything.
So, what do you like best about living on Ocracoke? Why do you like it here?
I like it here. The winter is my favorite time. Just because there's not so many people. I mean, it's a beautiful place. People are not. I'm very fortunate and lucky. I never heard of this place until my father moved out here.
Oh, really?
I never once heard of it. Apparently, I had been here when I was like 2 and ate at Captain Ben's.
But you don't remember.
I don't remember that. But it just has a nice feel. It has such a good energy vibe. The people here, for the most part, are, you know, I'm sure there's always that, you know, you're not a local kind of thing going on, but, you know.
Not too much.
Not too much, you know. There's wonderful people here. And there's not a lot of them. And, it's nice to be able to walk around and not see anybody for like 20 minutes in the wintertime. It's just very peaceful. I love the smell of the salt water, the salt air, the breezes, when you hear the geese coming and then you look up and you see them flying over. I mean, or the ibises, the bitterns. I live back over in the marsh, and so I get quite a bit of wildlife over there. Anywhere from nutria to baby pelicans, whatnot.
When you say the marsh, where?
Jackson Dunes. If you look at a map of the island, over in this area, there's just a place called Jackson Track, and it butts up against the marsh.
Okay.
When you're on the ferry, they'll probably have like a little pamphlet of layout of the village.
Yeah.
But after this past year, we had a hurricane. It wasn't a great big one, but a lot of baby pelicans got displaced from, I guess, Beacon Island or Shell Castle or whatever. And, and there's a woman that lives a couple houses down from me. She's a, wildlife rehabilitator.
Oh.
And, we all have to coexist. There's nothing wrong with helping animals.
Right.
That's what we're here for.
Right.
You can help animals or you can help people. I choose to help animals. And, so I'd go around and she'd pick them up. Pick up the little pelicans, and I think I captured like 6 of them.
Wow.
And I would just take them to her. And then, so she had all these pelicans. So I'm like, hey, Hardy, let's go set some nets. And just catch like fatbacks and give them to her so she can feed her pelicans.
Oh, great.
And she froze a bunch of the fatbacks for the season long. And,
oh, that's fantastic.
Cool. I enjoy
it.
It's a very nature wildlife place. I love it. I don't always have to be on the water, but I do love being on the water. Just seeing everything and what's gonna be in our net, like something crazy or the mishap that was in that last article. It said like 200 seahorses in the net, and I was like, no, it was not 200 seahorses in the net. It was maybe a dozen, maybe a dozen, and that was probably the most far out thing I'd seen. It was just we were in like a bite, which is just a deeper hole, whatnot, and it was warmer, and we would fish at night for bluefish and mackerel, and
you fish at night?
Yeah, okay. And certain times because the water gets too warm, and therefore the fish rot if you leave your nets out overnight, and I don't like picking rotten fish. That's money lost and the creatures killed for no reason.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand crabs have to eat too, but and so we're out there fishing, and the water's warm, and you have just the different algae that are growing at that time of year, and at that time we had a kill box in the bow of the boat, and then you had like 3-4 feet, and then you had the net reel. Okay. And the net was just coming across, and sweeps up. You have sea lice,
right?
Whatever, and all of a sudden there were these things flapping around. And I was like, "What in the hell is that?" And they were literally like tiny ass seahorses.
Oh my goodness!
And I was like, "Stop, dude!" I was like, "This is important right here." And so just like sweep them off and like throw them over, But it was not 200 seahorses. It was about a dozen. Or less than a dozen. And
this is changing the subject. Do you go to the beach and go swimming?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't.
I
mainly because I in the summer, if it's daylight, I'm working. I think I went to the beach to swim for maybe twice last summer. And it's, but plus, after you get a feel of what's out there and what you're catching, like, there's sharks out there. There's a lot of sharks out there, and not that I'm like too chicken to go in the water, but I go up to about my knee or my thigh, and get in.
Yeah, my husband always says if people saw what he sees out there in the ocean, a lot of people wouldn't stick their big toe in there.
Exactly, but you can't be afraid as long as you respect the ocean. I have a lot of respect for the ocean, and but I don't really like to swim.
Okay.
Even in the Sound, like, if they open up a scallop season, certain years, like I'll go out there and scallop. I guess it's been like 4 years since they've had one.
Yeah, it's been a while.
But I've seen a few around. But just walking around out there, and I think this last year or 2 summers ago, they had that great white shark that was in the sound or something. I'm just like, yeah, there's sharks out there.
I'll stay in the boat.
Yep, I'm just gonna stay right here. And sometimes we would be like, for a while we were like long hauling or swiping, where I'd be in one boat, the privateer, and a boss would be in the bigger net reel boat. You just drag the net out and you just make a circle swipe. And, sometimes the net would come together and you don't really want it to do that. And he'd be like, hop on out and drag that net this way. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, okay. All right. And then I'm just like, I'm like, don't step on a stingray. Because now I'm pretty much like not against stingrays. He was just being a stingray.
Right, but
we just happened to meet at a wrong time.
Encounter any.
Don't want to encounter any. Because, they're protecting themselves.
Exactly.
So, but, I'm not a big fan of swimming too much.
Well, I think that's it. I don't think I have any other questions. Anything else you want to share while the recorder's on?
I don't know. No, I enjoy it. I just, for this fish house, Ocracoke Seafood Company is the future of fishing on this island. And this fish house supports the families of the fishermen here on this island, and this is my home right here. This is it. And I'm gonna do what I can to see that this place continues to thrive, and continue to educate. Because without education, half the people in North Carolina, Western North Carolina, don't even know we catch shrimp in North Carolina. And it's just, it's all about education. So, but this fish house is a special place. It always has been, and I hope it continues to be that way.
I hope so too.
Yeah, and I'm going to do everything I can to keep it here. If I just have to volunteer my life, that's fine. I'll put a room in the back. This will be my new bedroom. But it's a wonderful place.
It is.
It is.
Well, thank you, Tree.
Thank you. It was wonderful.
Appreciate it. Okay.